Welcome to the Rock Newman Show.
It's the Rock Newman Show.
Welcome back, folks, to the last hour of the Rock Newman Show from the Langston Hughes Room at Busboys and Poets, 14th and V Street, Northwest Washington, D.C. Do we have a fun hour coming up this hour? We are blessed to have as our guest Nizam Ali and Virginia Ali. You've heard me refer to Virginia Ali as being the matriarch of Ben's Chili Bowl. And this coming Thursday, the 22nd, is that yes, the 22nd of August, they're celebrating 55 years of love and half smoke. And this establishment, Ben's Chili Bowl, has become an international icon. It has been a place of gathering for common folks and for presidents, dignitaries, and celebrities, literally from around the world. It has become a tourist attraction. If you come to Washington, D.C. and don't go to Ben's Chili Bowl, then you've missed something that is absolutely indigenous and an important part of Washington, D.C.'s culture. Matriarch Ali, you pretty lady, welcome to the Rock Newman Show.
Good morning, Rock. It's good to be
see
here.
you.
Thank
and
you.
Nizam, same to you.
Thank
you ain't
you.
so pretty.
Oh, I got to deal with it.
How fascinating to have you all here on your 55th anniversary. What I do with my guests is I always want my listening audience to be aware not just of what you're doing now, but who you are. And so, Virginia, if I can go to you first, please, Mrs. Ali, tell us your background. Where are you? Where did you? Where were you born? Where did you grow up?
Rural Virginia, Tappahannock, Virginia, actually. Spent my formative years there. Went to Virginia Union in Richmond, then came on to Washington. After
How old were you when you came to D.C.?
21.
You were 21 years old when you came to D.C.
My first job was the Industrial Bank of Washington.
At the National Bank of Washington?
Industrial
Bank. Industrial Bank, absolutely.
It was the only minority bank back then in those
Yes.
days. Yes.
Yes.
And we could only apply for work in a minority bank.
Uh-huh.
But growing up, I grew up on a farm. My dad had a 350-acre farm. So I grew up doing farm things and working in the home and until college, and then coming on to Washington after that, and working at Industrial Bank, which was where I learned that I love working with people. I love the public.
Now, so you working at Industrial Bank, started there when you were 21 years old after Virginia Union, the university college down in Virginia. Virginia Union's in Richmond.
Richmond.
In Richmond, Virginia. So you come to the big city, come to D.C., you're working at the bank.
Right.
Tell us about the very first time you met that guy named Ben Ali.
Oh, that was kind of fun. Ben came from Trinidad.
Yes.
And Ben had come to this country to matriculate university, and his first college was at Nebraska, University of Nebraska. After that, came to Howard to go to the dental school.
To do what?
Go to dental school.
To go to dental school.
Yes,
right.
I think maybe a year and a half, and he was in the dental program, and he'd injured his back stepping onto an elevator where the floor wasn't there. So he injured his back severely and was not able to complete that program. But in the meantime, he worked his way through college by working in restaurants, starting with mopping the floors, doing the dishes, and worked on up to being a maitre d' right here in D.C.'s big restaurants. So he knew the restaurant business, and when I met him, he was working in a restaurant just up here on U Street. And he was coming to the bank, and I saw him, and he saw me, but then in one day he decided to become bold enough to write a little note on a quarter wrapper.
On what?
A quarter, 25-cent quarter wrapper. And he just simply said, "Please call me." His name.
I was getting ready to say, I want to know what went on that wrapper.
He said, "Please call me Ben Ali," and he put the phone number. Well, of course, in those days, if you were a lady, you didn't call a man you didn't know. So, of course, I didn't call him. I wanted to.
Yeah.
But no.
Because he was a handsome dude.
Yeah, he was cool. Yes, he was cool. And the bank closed at 2. Well, by 3, I had not called. So he, being the kind of arrogant guy that he was, called and said, "This is Ben Ali. Why didn't you call me?"
How dare you not call me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I said, "Because I don't know you. I don't call strange men." Well, in the conversation, we realized that we knew the same
He said,
people.
I don't call strange men.
Exactly.
Okay, come on now.
But in the conversation, we knew the same people. So on our first date, he brought Basil Keene, who was in dental school, Dr. Basil Keene. Now, he's deceased now, but he was a classmate. And by this time, he'd graduated. He brought Dr. Basil Keene to introduce Ben to me and my aunt, with whom I lived at the time.
Right.
And that was the way we met.
That's the way you met.
That's the way we met. He was a character now. He was
Yes.
definitely a character.
And how long before it got serious?
Well, we were married a year and a half later.
Really?
A year and a half later. On our first date, I think of something about this quirky personality of his. When he asked where I would like to have dinner, I mentioned the name of a restaurant that I wanted to go to. So, okay, he drives along and he misses the turn.
He what?
He missed the turn to go to that particular restaurant. And I said, "Wait, you missed the turn. I mean, it's this way." He goes, "I'm not taking you someplace someone else has already taken you."
Pardon me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought, I liked his little personality and his confidence and
Okay.
even his cockiness, I guess.
Okay. Now, okay, so a year and a half after he says, "Call me,"
Right.
you guys get married.
We got married.
Where did you get married?
Now the story, my family were Christians. I was brought up in the Christian church, and we were very avid churchgoers. And my minister in Washington, I attended Plymouth Congregational Church here with my aunt, and the minister there became friends. He and his wife became friends of ours. And when we were ready to be married, I asked him to perform the ceremony. He said he'd like to come over and talk to me, and he did. And when he found out Ben was a Muslim, he said, "I can't do this.
Oh, wow.
No, I can't do this."
How did your family down in Virginia, you met this guy who's a Muslim from Trinidad.
Foreign land.
And their pretty little daughter was up here. How did they take to that?
My parents were wonderful people. My dad had just such a way with us. He just kind of put the responsibility on us. And when I went to him and told him my interests and what I wanted to do, he said, "Honey, we raised you well.
Yeah.
And if you think this is the right decision for you, it's all right with us." Now, I was 24 years old and working. But that's what he said.
But the minister initially said, "I can't do this."
And didn't.
And didn't.
No, he didn't. The state of Virginia said, "No, you're a mixed couple, won't do it." So we got married in the judge's chambers. Judge Beard married us.
Okay, and so you get married, and this was what year?
1958, same year we opened the church.
I was getting ready to say 1958. That's when when Ben's Chili Bowl opened.
Exactly.
So, did you guys talk a lot about that and sort of sweat and debate over it? Was it just something that happened pretty easily? Tell us about the formation. Come on, my folks need to know about the formation of this giant.
Well, he tried many other types of businesses after not having the problem with dental school. So he tried a few things, and then he said, "Okay, we're going to try to open a restaurant."
Right.
And of course, where would you open a restaurant if you were African American or if you were a person of color?
Right.
U Street.
Yes.
U Street, because that's where the happenings were.
Yeah. You know, Virginia, when you said you sort of asked that question, you said, "Where else would you open a restaurant?" Because that's what was happening.
Right.
Tell my audience in 1958, when you talk about U Street, tell them about U Street in 1958. What was along there?
U Street was just absolutely fabulous. It was known as Black Broadway. There were 3 theaters, one next door to the Chili Bowl, the Lincoln. The Republic was in the next block, and the Booker T in the following block.
Yes.
The Howard Theater was around the corner.
I said with Howard Theater just a few blocks away.
Howard University, just a few blocks away.
Yeah.
jazz clubs,
Yeah.
white tablecloth restaurants.
Yeah.
You could get Smithfield ham and champagne at Harrison's.
Bohemian Room.
Bohemian Caverns.
Yeah, Bohemian Caverns, right,
Yes,
right, that's
exactly.
right.
And it was a place where, when you go out in the evenings, you knew everybody. Everybody knew you. It was just a very close-knit, classic community. I remember going to work on a day as warm as today with high-heel shoes and white cotton gloves. Yes.
At the bank.
Going to the bank to work.
Wow.
Hats were worn at church by ladies. Jeans were worn only by farmers, Rock.
Jeans were worn only by
It
farmers.
was a very durable fabric. Right? Ladies didn't wear pants in the street.
Right.
We didn't even sit out front on our little row house front porch with a curler in our hair.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
And so for folks who are listening here in 2013, 55 years later, let me repeat that. You, on a regular basis, would go to work at the bank wearing high heels and white gloves.
Right.
Oh, yes. I know you was a pretty young thing.
Well, there was so much pride in the community.
Right.
And there was a close-knit community. It was a close-knit community. You knew everybody. When we opened the Chili Bowl, you just get to know the neighbors. They're supportive. The community is supportive of each other. And we just looked after each other.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We're going to come back in just a moment and talk about the early years of Ben's Chili Bowl and who are some of the folks that came through there of real note lately. Nizam, I'm definitely going to get to you.
No worries.
So
I just love hearing this. This is great.
You can't hear too much, right?
Can't hear too much.
We'll be back in a few moments on The Rock Newman Show. Hello, everybody. I'm Rock Newman from The Rock Newman Show. And I am absolutely flattered to have as one of my fine advertisers the DMV's greatest corporate citizen. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about the Pohanka Automotive Group. If you have any automotive needs whatsoever, if you want to sell your car, buy a car, trade in your car, have your car serviced, whatever you need, see my good friends at the Pohanka Automotive Group. You will be well taken care of, I promise. I'm Rock Newman. I might be there. Come on down and see our good friends at Pohanka Automotive Group.
And now, The Rock Newman Show.
Welcome back to The Rock Newman Show, folks. Today, again, is Saturday, August the 17th, 2013. We're broadcasting from Busboys and Poets in the Langston Hughes Room at 14th and V Street, Northwest Washington, D.C. And my guest this hour, Nizam Ali and Virginia Ali. Virginia is the patriarch of the great institution, the iconic institution, Ben's Chili Bowl. Okay, we walked up through 1958. You and your husband, Ben, got married. You opened Ben's Chili Bowl in an area at the time that was aptly called Black Broadway. Really. I mean, Washington, D.C.'s history with the Duke Ellingtons of the world, and Langston Hughes and those types, folks really don't, so many of our youngsters don't have any appreciation for that really legendary time. Yeah. It was a slice of America that I think really deserves to be chronicled in a way, whether, I don't know whether that's going to be a movie, it's going to be, you know, sort of the definitive book or whatever. I remember, and at the time I didn't know when you opened, but my first time there, my aunt lived up the street and had a jewelry store. And I remember that she took the first movie I ever saw, I was 10 years old. It was Tarzan Comes to New York at the Lincoln Theater. And when I went in the Lincoln Theater, I remember this aroma coming from this place next door. And I, you know, looked up and was like, Ben's. She's like, my aunt was like, okay, yeah, well, just calm down. We're going to go there afterwards. And I came over there and, you know, although a lot of people weren't familiar with half smoked, I was, because I grew up in the country, and sometimes my mother cooked us half smoked for breakfast. So I went in there, man, and got this half smoked, and I've been loving Ben's ever since. So thank you very much.
Pleasure, indeed.
So tell me about, you opened the restaurant. What was it like? Who were your clients? You know, how soon was it before you really started to see, you know, business come where this looked like it was going to be a success?
You know, Ben said when I suggested maybe I shouldn't quit my job,
right,
and just see how things go for a little while, he said, oh, no, we will make it, even if we have to sell the car, give up the apartment, build a shower in the back, and bring in a bed.
He was...
Yeah, it was going to work.
There was no question. This was going to be. This was going to be successful. Going to work.
Well, it didn't ever come to that point, but you know, this was still a segregated city.
Yeah.
And so, if Nat King Cole performed down at the Casino Royale, he didn't eat down there.
Yeah.
Unless he ate in the back.
Wow.
So the entertainers, Billy Eckstine, they all came to U Street.
Nat King Cole.
Nat King Cole, yeah, Billy Eckstine, Sarah Vaughan, all of them.
Yeah, people down at that could perform at the Howard Theater, which was,
they could perform at the Howard, and they performed also at, as I said, at the Royal Casino Royale on 14th Street.
Yeah,
that's where I saw. Well, no, I saw him at the Howard, Nat King Cole, but it was a time when they would come back to U Street because that was home.
Right.
Come back to U Street and hang out, and we were open until 4 o'clock in the morning on weekends, as we are again now.
Yes.
So entertainers, the clubs closed at 2. The entertainers were out, and they'd come on up on U Street, hang out at the Chili Bowl or the jazz clubs. And that's how that entertainment crew came about, I think. It was a good hot dog, Rock.
Yes.
So the word gets out,
yeah.
You know. I remember when Kathy Hughes took over WOL. I don't know what year that was. It was a little bit later, maybe
I think
in the
it was like
60s.
79,
you think that
maybe
late?
80. At 80 at the latest.
I don't think it was that late. Maybe in this, maybe 70s, early 70s, I would think. Mm-hmm. But I remember when she converted that station, and those DJs.
Yeah.
Were like movie stars.
Yes.
So we were one of the first to entertain on WL when Kathy took that station over.
To advertise.
I think we were their first 52-week contract. Their full
Yeah,
full year
right.
contract for advertising.
Yeah, you know what? I've heard Kathy tell that story.
She talks with pride about that.
Absolutely,
It's really nice.
I've heard her tell that story.
So on a weekend when whichever DJ was not on the air, they'd come to the Chili Bowl, and they were like stars. The Soul Finger, the Tall Tan Texan.
Yes.
You know, they
Yes.
just come and hang out and mingle with people,
Right.
which was good for us and good for WL.
Yeah. You opened in 58, and in 63, there was the March on Washington, which this week we're celebrating 50 years of.
Yeah.
What are your memories of the March on Washington? Did you get any of the crowd from the March on Washington?
Of course. Actually, we were even able to provide some hot dogs for some of the folks that came in town early. We had friends that knew groups that were coming in together by the bus, and sometimes we could come in. We could just stop by and pick up 50 or 60 hot dogs or whatever. We were there to the lead up when H. Rap Brown was talking about burn, baby, burn. If we don't get equality for our people.
Sure.
Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture,
Yeah.
was in the office across the street.
One of his aides for 10 years was just on before you and talked about Stokely saying how much he enjoyed having his office across the stick office across the street because he could always come to Ben's.
Well, he was there every day. He was a wonderful person. I thoroughly enjoyed him.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, he was responsible for our employees having permits to come to work during the riot evenings, you know, when the curfew was in effect.
Yes.
Mayor Washington had imposed a curfew.
Yeah.
Well, you were supposed to be off the street. We had employee permits for the employees to come to work and stay until closing time.
And Stokely helped with that process?
Stokely saw the commander and made that possible, in addition to the police officials, of course.
Right.
City officials.
Right. See,
But
that's
yes, he
history.
did.
Right.
That's
yes, he
real
did.
history.
Yes.
So
he
as the
did.
city was shut down,
Yes.
we were allowed to remain open our regular hours because
Right.
people needed a place to eat.
Yes.
And a place to meet.
Right.
And a place to kind of figure out how do we stop this violence or
Yeah,
how do we
and
pull
what you're
things
talking
back
about
together?
now is I had mentioned the March on Washington '63. Of course, Martin Luther King gave the "I Have a Dream" speech.
Yes.
But now we've jumped ahead 5 years, and we're talking about after he was shot.
Yeah.
And
Right,
what was going
exactly.
on.
That's
then.
what happened
Correct.
during the assassination. Yeah, but during the march, people were in town. So many people, over 250,000 people were here.
Yes.
So of course they were coming up to the Chili Bowl.
Right.
And we were fortunate to be able to go down there for a little while to hear we at least heard Dr. King's speech. So many people spoke and they were entertainers.
Did you go to that?
I did, but I mean, you're like lost in the crowd. There's so many people. We didn't go early.
But you were out there that day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mahalia Jackson singing and
Sure.
Peter, Paul, and Mary. And it was just an amazing time to see the mix of people.
Right.
Black people, white people, poor people, rich people, all kinds of people.
So talking about the march and being there amongst, the multitudes, Virginia, what was, as you say, Mahalia Jackson's on stage, Peter, Paul, and Mary's on stage. There is a conglomeration of people of all colors, all hues. Describe the feeling that day.
Well, it just was a feeling of exuberance. I mean, you just were happy to be there. You were happy to see that this has to make a change. This has to change this country.
Right.
This has to change the voting rights bill.
Right.
It has to.
Right.
And we came away with that very strong affirmative feeling.
Mm-hmm. So it's a time of real hope.
A time of real hope, indeed. Yeah.
And so now, we move forward. We move forward to the time, when Martin Luther King got shot. And there was such despair, there was such anger, there was such violence. During those times where there was rioting and looting, take us back to, those days and how you felt as a proprietor there on U Street when things were burning down all around you.
Frightened. We were afraid.
Yeah.
We just don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
There are gangs of young people. Everywhere you go, there were gangs of young people. You look out the door and you see the National Guard with this big weapon right in front of your door. And I remember opening the closet where the circuit breakers are to turn the lights on in the evening. Tear gas popped right in your eyes. Yeah.
Someone shot tear gas in?
There was tear gas in that little closet. I don't know how it got there.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if it because they were doing it outside, someone opened the door. I don't know. I just felt that burning sensation in my eyes.
Yeah.
But it was a scary time, and yet, I mean, we had this banner made up, or actually we did chalk on the window, Soul Brother, to identify our business as a black business.
Yeah.
We weren't the only business that did that.
Yeah.
But no one touched us.
Yeah. You know what? During that time, I remember coming up from the country, coming up into the city, and nearby there was a Chinese restaurant, and I'll never forget the sign on his window say "Me Soul Brother Too." I think he was spared also.
Yeah.
You know what I'd like to do here? I'd like to take a leap, kind of like a time capsule, because we're talking about 1968. Let's fast forward for a minute. We'll come back. But let's fast forward to a minute. 40 years. 2008. Barack Hussein Obama is elected president of the United States of America. And of all of my years and times of being in D.C., whether it was a Howard University homecoming, whatever it might have been, I don't think I've ever seen U Street more packed than it was during his cold inauguration. I came by in absolute amazement. I got lucky, and I found a parking space on V Street. I thought there might have been some sort of real disturbance going on, because folks who don't know the lay of the land here, of course, you've got U Street and you've got V Street. And Ben sits between 12th and 13th Street. And there's an alley next to the property on both sides. I saw these people lined up the alley from U Street, where the entrance is to Ben's, back out to where I was parking on V Street. And I was like, what is going on?
And it was cold.
It's very cold.
In the bitter cold. And there were these folks that were lined up. It warmed my heart because I cheated. I came in the line, and somebody in Ben's knew this old mug here and let me in. But it was one of the most amazing sights, that folks out there shivering in the cold, waiting to get into this institution that has become known worldwide. Both of you, Nizam, I'll ask you first. How did that make you feel?
In one way, it made us feel bad because we didn't want people standing out there in the cold that long.
Yeah.
I asked a customer, and I said, how long did you have to wait? They said about 2.5 hours. And I felt bad.
Yeah.
You know, I hate for people to have to wait that long. But it was amazing. But it was so much bigger than us. It wasn't about us that time.
Right.
It was about Barack Obama.
Yeah.
And it's just that feeling. It wasn't the line. It wasn't the business. It wasn't the money. It was, this inauguration is happening. And he is going to be sworn in as president. And it was that time.
It was just that. Just a wonderful, wonderful feeling. I mean, everybody was happy.
Yeah.
Even the cold didn't seem to bother them.
Yeah.
We were all just happy.
And we're talking cold. I mean, we're talking cold,
you know,
windy,
I remember
near single digits temperature with the wind.
Right.
Cold.
Yep.
Tell them about the ice sculpture that was brought in and how long it stayed.
We have a good friend. His name is Cake Man Raven, and he's really famous for his red velvet cakes up in Brooklyn.
Right.
And he has come down for many of our anniversaries and just blessed us with 600 red velvet cupcakes at a time, and just a sweet man. He called us and said, hey, for the inauguration, I want to come down and I want to carve an Obama ice sculpture and put it out in front.
Right.
He brought down giant colored blocks, red, white, blue, and he carved in the alley with 3 chainsaws, O-B-A-M-A.
Yeah.
Set it up on a table and put that out front.
Out front. Outside.
Outside, right in front of the restaurant.
Right.
And it was so cold, we thought the thing would melt at some point. Now, it lasted for a week, whereas, you know, cars are blocking traffic, buses are pulling up, looking at it, and the police were like, when are y'all going to take that down?
Yeah.
I guess when it melts. But it was that cold. But it was tremendous.
And to think of it wasn't like that for one day.
No.
It was like that for multiple days.
Exactly.
Yeah. But let me just ask this. From a business point of view, was that like your all-time record sales?
Yeah. Well, and we didn't talk about the reason that. Well, let Mom speak to that. But we didn't talk about him actually coming into the restaurant.
We haven't talked about that, right?
Right. And so 10 days before he was inaugurated, January 10th, is when he walked in the door himself. Right. And that's really what sparked that level of business. It wasn't just the inauguration was happening and people were coming to visit, but he had physically been there 10 days before when the whole world was watching his every move. And we did interviews. We might have done 10 interviews a day from different countries. There were cameras in there from all different countries. And there were cameras just interviewing us for all the way leading up and through the inauguration. And that's really what did it.
Came in there with
President-elect. He was president-elect.
First came in with Mayor Fenton, right?
Well, and that was his first outing in the city.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was significant. It was significant.
You know, that was a sweet touch there.
That was incredible. I mean, that was really the emotional time that you just, of all places to go. He came to U Street and he came to Ben's.
And let me ask you, do you know how many hot dogs or burgers you sold that day?
No, we don't concern ourselves with that.
They ain't got time to count.
No, we don't do that. We just stay busy. We just keep busy. We just do what we can.
We just kind of serve the people as fast as we can and as well as we can.
This has been a tremendous community for us. You know, we celebrated 40 years in business. Nizam put together a press conference for our 40th anniversary. That was our first celebration. And amazingly, people stood in line all day on a hot August day, as they will probably do Thursday. All day, coming in to just buy a hot dog.
Oh, I remember. I was there.
And the funny thing is, these are some people that came the day before and the day after. And we're like, look, the line is huge. Why are you standing in line? Just come tomorrow. And they said, no, we have to be here today.
Want to be there.
Today's your anniversary. We're coming. We're going to be here today.
There are a couple of surprises in store for you on Thursday. I'll just tease you with that as we go to break here on the Rock Newman Show. We'll be back with Virginia and Nizam Ali, folks who are running a D.C. institution called Ben's Chili Bowl. They say the half smoke will make you. What's the slogan?
Our chili will make a hot dog bark.
Our chili will make the hot dog bark. And we're going to talk about one of their favorite customers who has talked about this institution around the world. A guy you might have heard of. His name is Bill Cosby. When we come back on the Rock Newman Show. Hello to all my friends in the DMV. I am Rock Newman from the Rock Newman Show. I want to tell you about the MGM Grand National Harbor, the most exciting project to come to the District, Maryland, or Virginia in quite some time. You're going to have great fun. Come on down, support this project with all you have. It is going to be wonderful for the area. We're going to increase our tax base. We're going to get funding for the police department, for ambulance, for fire, for education. It is really a project that is going to benefit our area. Folks, we want to support in a very strong DMV kind of way this great project from the MGM Grand National Harbor.
And now, the Rock Newman Show.
Hello, folks. This will be our final segment today, August the 17th, 2013. We are celebrating 55 years of love and half smokes and hot dogs and hamburgers. And interestingly enough, I'll tell you what, it's hard to pick a favorite. It's almost like a child as to which one I like best. But if someone really made me choose, I might choose the turkey burger. When I come in there, which I shouldn't be doing, but at 1 o'clock in the morning, sometimes the guy just nods and starts putting it on the grill there, and he comes back, and I've got a turkey burger with ketchup and relish and mayonnaise and hot sauce, and I already said relish, and a few onions, and it is delicious. And also your tuna fish sandwich. It's just incredible. I see you got a couple of new items on the board up there. Mm-hmm. And speaking on the board, you have up there and have had for a very long time a relationship. Have his picture, Bill Cosby. You've had a relationship with him. Tell us about how that relationship got started. I mean, there's so many others. I've heard personal testimonies. I've heard people talk in public. I've heard Roberta Flack say when she was a struggling student at Howard University and simply didn't have any money to eat, she came and got fed with love and some real good food at Ben's Chili Bowl when she couldn't even pay for it. I think it was it the 50th anniversary that she
spoke
showed
about
up?
that, yes.
Yes, and she sang at our gala.
Yes.
For free.
Yes.
As sweet as she is.
How is that? I mean, to hear her tell that story, people were riveted when she told that story about not being able to eat and not knowing what she would have done to survive to get through school at Howard University if Ben's Chili Bowl hadn't been there. So when we talk about what Ben's has meant to the community, it's meant those kind of things. It's meant actual survival for some folks.
I think it's a mutual love. It's our love for our customers, for our neighborhood and our community, and that love comes back.
Yeah.
And that's the only way we can explain it. We've been with so many blessings, and we absolutely need to talk about Bill Cosby as a blessing.
Yeah, you know what? Before we go to Bill, because now part of what has happened, in part because of those many blessings, is you're now at Nationals Park. You come by and there's that unmistakable aroma. Are you out at FedEx Field also?
We're a second year at FedEx Field. Yes. And then we bought a building on 8th Street Northeast. That'll be another Ben's Chili Bowl.
Oh, so you actually are. That's going to be your second branch out in addition to the second real Ben, because you got Ben's next door. That's a different kind of establishment.
Correct.
Right.
So we're working on 8th Street. It's under construction now. Probably take about 8 months or so to get up and running. Okay. And we're looking at other places. We're looking at the airports. We're looking at other areas. So I think it's the time that and we really feel like it's not growing for the money part of it. It feels like it's a responsibility that we've been giving so many blessings that we have to do a little something more with it. I think as absolutely paying tribute to the legacy, not
certainly commercial.
No.
Only, and you know something, it's not something, and I think it's a similarity to this establishment here, Busboys and Poets. There is not the sense that it's a business. It's just not the sense that it's a business. It's a place to come and have a good time, you know. So that sense of community, and I've heard Andy Shalal, who's the owner, the visionary of this place here, talk about that kind of commitment to the customer, where it's just not like it's because some restaurants you go in. Some places you go in and you just feel like, hey, it's a business and it's okay. Right. But that's not how you feel over there. It's a gathering place.
And it's where things happen. It's where people meet. It's where discussions happen.
Right.
It's where actions get planned.
It's
where change happens.
The person who's in charge of my sound here, it's where he met his wife.
We've got a few of those stories.
Really?
Quite a few of those stories, yes.
I can only imagine. Tell us about Bill Cosby's relationship.
Bill Cosby started coming to the bowl in 1959. He was in the Navy and a hospital corpsman stationed at Bethesda Naval Hospital. And he had met a friend here from Washington, Ron Crockett, who left the Navy and went on to the University of Maryland. Met Camille and said, you need to meet this girl, Bill. You've got to meet this girl. So he brought her to the Chili Bowl. They met, and they fell in love.
So the first time Bill and Camille met was at Ben's?
Well, they were introduced by Ronnie Crockett, and they dated at the Ben's Chili Bowl. I'm not sure if it was the very first time they met. I don't know. I have to ask him that when he comes Thursday.
But the two of them became regulars.
Oh yeah.
As long back as 59.
Oh yes. Yes.
And just having them date there. So when Bill Cosby has been a friend for so long, he said, no, this is part of my history. Don't thank me. This is part of my history.
Right.
My wife and I, before we got married, dated here. I courted her here.
You know, I mean, because part of what just had me just like jumping up and screaming one night is I'm watching, was it Leno or Carson? I can't remember.
Johnny Carson.
Way
back, Johnny Carson.
With Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
Bill Cosby's on Johnny Carson.
Yeah. Testified
and,
on
they're having their conversation or whatever. And he starts to talk about Ben's Chili Bowl, and I really wasn't aware of his history there. When he did it, I was like, oh my, I can't believe
on
this.
Johnny
so
Carson.
on, you know,
way back,
I mean, at that time, when you buy advertising, that was some of the most expensive advertising that anyone could possibly buy. And Bill Cosby's just sitting on there and talking about getting mustard down his arms and how you eat a half smoke.
And he did it on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And on CNN. And on stage all over the country and around the world.
Oh,
He's been tremendous.
Larry King's office called one day and said, what is that thing Cosby likes there? This was years ago. And we said, oh, yeah, we know. And here comes a blonde in a cab. And she picks up these half smokes and takes them back. And just before he's going off the air, Larry hands him this bag, and he opens it and he goes, Ben's Chili Bowl, Washington, D.C.
How special was that?
It's been unbelievable. It's just incredible.
And you know, I guess it was about probably maybe 2 years ago I was in there. 2 years ago. I meet Bernard, a gentleman by the name of Bernard Demchek in there. And Bernard Demchek has been involved in this city and everything. He's the unofficial mayor of U Street.
The historian of Ben's.
He's the official historian of Ben's.
And the official historian
of
Ben's. And did you see his office tag there in the Chili Bowl?
I did see his office tag
hours.
And I read his paper on how you eat a half smoke.
Right. And when he wrote it like 10 years ago, I said, this guy just has too much time on his hands.
Right.
But he's been incredible. He actually has he got all of our papers, our archives, archived at the GW's Gelman Library. So they're all preserved and cataloged for eternity.
And if someone wants to sort of review that, what do you do? How do you get to see that?
It's just all physically at the GW Gelman Library, and I'm sure it's online. If you go to GW and search the Gelman Library or their archives, that it's there, that you can research it and see all of our old memorabilia, some old payroll books and different things from 50, 55 years ago.
So people recognize Ben's Chili Bowl now from around the world, and they see this incredible success story. You know, and I often try to tell young folks, you see these things that you think were overnight success, and overnight success generally always come from a lot of hard work, a lot of disappointment, a lot of failures, and some tough times. And I was in this city. I helped dig some of the first holes. I had a little construction job when I was at Howard University back in the 70s. And I helped dig some of the first holes for the subway here. And I came up to come to Ben's one day, coming down U Street. And I couldn't get there. It was like nearly impossible to get there.
Certainly couldn't get there by car.
The subway, you could not drive on. You couldn't drive at all.
That's right.
And that must have caused some very lean times.
We had one employee during that time, just me and one employee. I believe you were in college. And that's Bernadette. We call her Peaches. She's been with me 35 years.
Absolutely.
She's still there.
Yes.
But the downslide began earlier than that, with the influx of drugs in the late 70s and all of the 80s. And then in the end of the 80s, I believe it was when they decided to finally give us a subway system.
Yeah.
We were the poorest neighborhood, needed it the most, but really the last to get the subway in the city.
Yeah.
And when they decided to do that, they simply took away the whole physical street for a period of time. So the only way to get there was by V Street, which is one way, come down the alley, and then you'd have to reverse to get out of there.
And it wasn't like that was a 3-month process.
Oh, no.
That was a long time.
Yeah, that was a long time.
It's 5 years total. 3 years, there was no street. The street was totally dug up.
Going in sort of the wilderness of that, was there ever the thought that you might not be able to survive?
Well, we were able to survive because I thank my husband again. He was a rather frugal man, and the first thing when we were able to purchase the building, then we made every effort to pay for that building, and so we had been able to do that. It was a struggle to pay the property taxes, and I don't want to have to tell you what the property tax, how it escalated shortly after they dug the hole.
Right.
Right. But we were kind of prepared because we had lived our life in such a way that we tried to save whatever little money we made, and we tried to make the payments on that building, and that's how we were able to stay there. So did the bank, and so did Lee's Flower Shop. We are the 3 businesses that remained on your street through the turmoil.
Right.
Drugs and construction of the subway system. It was a really hard time.
Right.
Hard time.
Right.
We'd have to go into our savings to pay the property taxes.
Wow. And at one point, with the city being so predominantly African American, the majority of, there was a time when I was coming in, 70s, 80s, whatever it might have been. Certainly when I was at Howard University, it seemed to be a predominantly African American clientele. Right. It seems now that I'm struck by how absolutely comfortable it is, and everyone seems to feel coming in there. And I'm talking about, young kids from American University and Catholic University, joining forces with Howard University, the old, the new. I mean, it truly is a gathering place for everyone.
Well, I hear my oldest son, who takes care of the night shift, talk about that all the time. He said, oh no, the white folks are not afraid to be there anymore. They're just as comfortable if someone says something to them. Hey man, you're cutting the line. They stand up for themselves. They're very comfortable. Everybody's very comfortable. And he said at 3 o'clock in the morning, when they've all left the clubs, they're verbal.
Verbal.
They're very verbal, yes.
When they've left
but
the
everybody's
club,
there.
They left the club and have turned their wrists.
They are just as much at home as the folks that used to live around the corner.
Yeah.
Just as much at home, yes. And we're proud of that. We're proud of our diversity. I mean, the country should look that way, be that way.
Not to mention the diversity even back then.
Yeah.
And it was always a place for all people, even back when we first opened.
Right.
So it was always, had everybody. Had all kinds of people in the 80s and the 70s. From punk rockers to the whole punk music scene that DC had everybody, all sitting side by side.
I'm going to ask you a question now that might make it almost as, like when you ask a parent who their favorite child is. Is there one moment in all of this time, this coming Thursday will be 55 years, is there one moment that stands out for any reason it might be more memorable than the other?
There were so many moments, Rock, so many moments. But I think what was most profound for me was that first 40th anniversary celebration. When I'm thinking, we're just having a little press conference. I'm surprised when I think we were in Trinidad, Ben and I, and Nizam calls and says, Mom, I think you guys are going to have to come back because this little celebration is going to be a little bigger than I thought.
Turned into something.
Okay, so we came back the day before. Remember, you picked us up at the airport, and he said, I need you guys down there at 8 o'clock in the morning. Tony Perkins was broadcasting live from the chili bowl.
Sure.
And to see people just come in there and stand for hours all day long, and most of the night.
And we talked about Obama's inauguration being cold. That was hot. That was a hot August day.
And we weren't giving away anything.
Right.
We weren't. There were no stars. We didn't. You know. I mean, it was just amazing. It was our community.
Yeah.
It was this city.
Yeah.
They weren't tourists. It was this city and our community. That was profound for me.
That
Yes.
stands
Yes.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. Very touching.
Yeah. Ben left us his physical presence. He left us when? When was that?
2009, October 7th.
Mm-hmm.
And I say physical presence because absolutely, his spirit is all over that place. That is still Ben's Chili Bowl.
They they do a video in there every day, and I see him and hear his voice every day, 10 times a day for the groups that come.
Yeah.
The kids have put together a little historical video.
Yeah.
So he's still there, yes.
Yeah. Thank God.
And we had 51 years of marriage.
Say that again?
51 years of marriage.
51.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And how many kids?
3 sons.
Wow.
They married 3 lovely girls, and we have 3 wonderful grandchildren.
Fantastic.
So I'm very blessed.
Nizam, so the future, I mean, you're looking to expand. I mean, you're looking to grow.
Yeah, and it's been a conscious decision, I think, among our family. We want to do it right. We don't have to do it fast. We don't have to ride any waves or anything. We just do it at our own pace. Next door, when we opened that up, it seemed logical because it was right next door. We come to that same 1213 U Street every day.
Right.
What can we do right next door? We're able to buy that building.
Right.
We put a gift shop upstairs because we're there too, and now we have the opportunity. We can ship half smokes and chili all across the country, ordering kind of on the website. So we said, what can we do there? And then we branched out to the ballparks and things. So we think as long as we can keep the quality up and that service up, I think it's okay to grow.
For those folks, who watch it, I mean, literally, this show is seen around the world on the web, live streaming. For those whose mouth are out there just watering, how can they get a half smoke shipped?
Oh, just benschilibowl.com. There's an online store there, or you call up the shop and we'll put you through to Mike, and Mike will take your order and ship it out to you. He'll get FedEx to you. It'll be there in 1 to 2 days.
And I mean, and how does it come? Does it come?
It comes frozen. So we give you the half smokes and we give you the chili sauce. And we know that you can get your own hot dog bun and your own mustard or onions. So you grill out your half smokes, cook them in the kitchen or on the grill, and you heat up your chili, put them in a bun, put that mustard, onions, and our chili sauce that comes packed on top of that. Go to town.
Have you all ever revealed the secret to the sauce?
No. Oh, no.
No?
Oh, Mama wouldn't let us do that. So it's a secret. It's only the family knows, and we put we have these paper bags that we mix all of the dry spices together in bags every day, and we put them up on the shelf, and then only a few select employees can take those dry spices, mix them with the ground beef, and put it together and actually make a full pot of chili sauce, which takes a couple hours to do.
So after I've had my burger and fries and my drink, I want to put in a request. Tell whoever is working there that whenever I come in and I ask for that damn cakes you have down there at the top of the counter, tell them don't give it to me. I don't care if I scream and holler. Tell them don't give it to me.
And I don't want to put your stuff out there, but I remember the decades of you coming in.
Yes.
With that glass of milk and a piece of strawberry cake. Strawberry cake.
All
the time. It was great.
Whether that is red velvet cake, whether that is that coconut,
pineapple,
just crazy pineapple cake, chocolate cake. I brought my nephew in there from Los Angeles one day, and you guys had the nerve to have some sweet potato cake. And I can't tell you the number of times that he's asked me to send him sweet potato cake to Los Angeles. And let me say something. I posted that you all were going to be on my Facebook page. And the platitudes that came in, there was one lady that said that what she made sure happened when she took her kid to college was that they had a poster of Ben's Chili Bowl on the wall. Colin Jones, who's a recent graduate of Duke University, came in. He said, it's some of the best food I ever had in my life. Their hash smokes got swag. It was, the responses that I got. I mean, look, in the world of social media and Facebook, Rarely do you put up anything, and that you don't get some people throwing darts at you because they are anonymous. Every single person that responded, that knew that you were coming on the show, didn't give anything but love and praise. Wow. And I think that is the story of Ben's Chili Bowl, is that folks love you and feel good about you. And that has happened as a result of the love and the nourishment that you have provided to a community for 55 years. So happy anniversary.
Well, thank you.
I
Thank you so
can't
much.
wait to see you Thursday. And, if knowing me like I know me, I'll probably be over there at 1 o'clock in the morning before Thursday.
Well, come on over.
Come on down.
We're going to have fun.
I will be there. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much, Rock. Thank you.
Indeed.
Always.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
All right, love you too.
55 more great years.
Thank you.
Folks, that wraps it up today on the Rock Newman Show. We'll see you on next Saturday. It is the day of the 50th anniversary of the march, and we're going to do a special broadcast. We will not be broadcasting from 9 to noon. We're going to be broadcasting from 5 p.m. to 9, and maybe even after that. There are a multitude of people that we are going to be having on the show talking about 50 years after the I Have a Dream speech. This will be the place to be. Come join us next week, 5 to 9, right here at Busboys and Poets in the Langston Hughes Room. Until then, go in peace.
The Rock Newman Show. It's the Rock Newman Show. Rock Newman Show.